Good evening, Rebel Nation. For the Rebel Walk, I'm Jake Evans, along with Hayes Dubberly and Lan Teller here, live from Oxford, Mississippi. We have now concluded the 2019 recruiting trail. All the national letters of intent have been signed as of today. The first group of guys did their national letters of intent back in December. About 87% of the class signed early this year, which was a big number up from last year, but the rest of the field signed today. So all the classes are final, and We've got our 2019 class here for the Rebs. Guys, what did y'all think for overview of how the day went?
I was really shocked, to be honest with you. I knew we only had like 6 spots, and I really didn't think we'd get Ely. Mingo made me nervous. I didn't think we'd get Henry either. So I was really impressed with Matt Luke and his guys to be able to get those recruits. I was really pleasantly surprised.
Yep.
Especially for him to get the recruits this go-around instead of the first go-around, because we really missed out on some high-class Mississippi guys that are going to possibly be impact players for Alabama, Auburn, and Georgia other out-of-state teams.
Yeah, and so like we said, the early signing period back in December, about 87% of the class nationally signed, which was a huge number. This is only the second year that guys have been able to sign early, ahead of this day in February. But back in December, the Rebs signed 11 guys, 11 of the 31 total that have signed as of now. The headliner for that class, Sam Williams, he a 6'4", 250-pound defensive end. From community college. He's the 8th best player in JUCO, 4-star, 90 overall. This guy's looking to be an impact player right away on Mike McIntyre's defense. After him, Grant Tisdale, dual threat quarterback from Allen, Texas, another 4-star. Jaden Jackson from Centerton, Arkansas, big wide receiver, 3-star. That's one of the guys that there's a few in this class that the Rebs lost A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, DeMarcus Lodge, Dawson Knox, but instead of rebuilding this year, this recruiting class really turned into more of a reloading year, I would say.
Well, and, I think it's really interesting. Nick Saban said this. I think, more and more, now that they've started this early signing period, I think Nick Saban said he calls it the new signing day, because I think more and more athletes are just jumping on the opportunity to sign in December. And I think the more that they allow that, the less we'll see. We only had 6 people sign in February, right, which is, usually you have an entire class, but now with this new early signing period. But yeah, like you said, it was 100% a reload. I mean, Peeler did a great job, trying to maybe fill in the holes that those nasty wideouts kind of left with, AJ, DK, DeMarcus all leaving.
Yeah.
We will get to see DeMarcus Gregory this year. I'm really excited about him. Hopefully he'll be healthy enough to contribute, Miles Battle, Elijah Moore. We already have a nice base, and I think a lot of those guys got some good experience, but these new guys coming in, I think, it is 100% a reload.
Yeah, and like you said, off of what Saban said, seeing guys being able to sign in December now is huge, because you get guys, you're getting a lot more guys that are early enrolling and are getting a whole semester and a whole spring practice and summer under their belt instead of just having a report for the summer, which I think is going to be interesting. Like I said, it's only the second year that they've been able to do this, but I think it'll be interesting to see the development of talent, over the next few years when guys are able to get a whole semester and a whole spring practice, get that whole go-round under their belt, versus traditionally when guys didn't come in until, after they graduated high school, late May, early June. So, we're looking at the class here. The early enrollees in December were fantastic, but the real big pieces to this class came in today. 5-star running back Jerrion Ely had previously been committed to the Rebs, but decommitted a few weeks back. Since then, though, the Rebs hired Rich Rodriguez as an offensive coordinator, and then some other things across the country fell into play for the Rebs that worked out. But Ely's a 2-sport star. A lot of people are concerned, thinking that he's going to be going to the MLB draft here in a few months. He's going to be a 2-sport star if he decides to stay and actually play at Ole Miss. But he's got first-round MLB draft money staring him in the face here in a couple of months. That could happen without him ever even playing a single snap of college football or baseball. Hayes, you played with him in high school. I mean, guys called him a once-in-a-generation. What do you think about him?
Yeah, absolutely. He's probably one of the best athletes I will ever lay eyes on, just because he's so fundamentally sound, but also so fast and so powerful at the same time. I would honestly say that he could be kind of compared to as a Cam Akers caliber type player that's instant impact as a freshman if he plays football, but we'll see what he does with the draft coming up in June for him.
Well, I like to say that my dad was the reason he came. He bumped into him. I think we were at Kiowa Island, South Carolina. Dad was just walking on the beach, and he saw Jerry Neely, and he was like, "Hey, man, come to Ole Miss." And here he is. So,
There you go.
And even if he goes to the draft, it's so hard not to root for him just because he's such an outstanding
Absolutely.
person.
And especially coming from the backyard here in Mississippi.
Yeah.
Another guy, another two-sport star that the Rebs are looking at, John Reese Plumlee, a guy who'd been committed to Georgia for a long time, dual-threat quarterback, 4-star from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Another guy right out of the Rebs' own backyard. He, like I said, was committed to Georgia for a long time, and kind of at the last second here, just a few days ago, flipped, decided to commit to Ole Miss, signed his letter of intent today, and the Rebel Walk posted a video earlier today from his signing ceremony at Oak Grove High School, and he seems like a real leader. This seems like a guy who he could be sitting for a couple years behind Matt Corral and Grant Tisdale. Don't really know how that's all going to shake out, but he seems like a fantastic athlete who's going to get a chance to play baseball too for the Rebs. Him and Jerrion Ely were here a couple weeks ago. On their official visits 2 weekends ago, spent time with Mike Bianco and Matt Luke. It's good to see getting good athletes like that. And like you said earlier today, there's a chance he could be playing safety or something like that if the pieces need to be moved around like that. But other big guys that the Rebs signed today, Jonathan Mingo, a big wide receiver from Brandon, Mississippi, had been committed for a long time to the Rebs, but here in the last few weeks it's been shaky. There'd been, I think Georgia and Mississippi State had been really hot on his trail. We were talking about it this morning, saying that it was one of the shakiest commitments we'd seen in a long time. It was going right down to the wire, even though he never officially decommitted from Ole Miss. But Jonathan Mingo, that's a huge get for the Rebs. He signed this morning. And then, we were all sitting around waiting for Lakia Henry. That was a huge steal for the Rebs. The number one middle linebacker out of JUCO, 4-star. We were saying we weren't sure if we were going to get him from Arkansas. Texas was also in the mix, but, I think with Mike McIntyre's defense, the new defense, there's some good pieces that came in today, and I think this is a huge one of it.
Absolutely. He is a great player, and if you watch his tape, you see that he runs downhill, aggressive. He's a playmaker. He's definitely – Rebel fans should definitely look for him to be an instant impact player.
Well, and I definitely
maybe
think,
even start.
Yeah, I definitely think that was kind of the maybe the, driving force to get him to Ole Miss. It's I can almost guarantee you he will play immediately. Yeah. He is – what is he? He's 6 foot 225. That's a big dude. That's an athletic dude that in a position that we need depth and we need big guys like that. And I think, if I were him, thinking I could be an immediate starter or an immediate impact player, I think, that was, I imagine that was probably a big reason why he chose Ole Miss over the Hogs.
Well, and also, like I said, coming from JUCO, that means, he's already got a year. He's already got a year of college football under his belt. Granted, it's not SEC caliber football. In community college, but he's not 6 foot 225 coming straight out of high school. He's already got a year of lifting weights, the whole kind of regiment that these guys get now when they come to the SEC. So that's grown man 6 foot 225 there. So that's huge. Another guy that signed today, Dennis Jackson, receiver from Summerall, Mississippi, another 4-star wide receiver, him and Jonathan Mingo. Those are two huge pieces because, like we said, Rebs lost A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, Dawson Knox, DeMarcus Lodge, all guys who'd been major contributors to the Rebs, offensive success really for the last couple of years. Getting those guys, like you said earlier, there's still some big pieces coming back, but getting Jerrion Ely, getting Dennis Jackson, Jonathan Mingo, those are all guys who have a chance to play immediately, make an impact, keep that tradition, because the last few years, the Rebs calling card, in general, has just been scoring a lot of points, fast-paced offense, high-flying receivers running all over the field. So, I think that what they got today, as far as on the offensive side of the ball, was fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, we take a look at the defense here. A huge commitment that the Rebs got today. Ladarius Cox, 6'5", 312 pounds is what he's listed at, out of Mobile, Alabama. This is a guy, he was he plays nose guard, defensive tackle, was committed to Tennessee for a long time, but he took his official visit to Oxford 2 weeks ago when Jerrion Ely, John Reese Plumlee, a lot of these guys were here. I think there were 6 or 7 of them here 2 weeks ago, and he was one of the guys there. And all reports that were that his visit went, as well as it could have. And there was a few other Alabama guys on that visit too that were kind of, helping the coaching staff recruit him, and ultimately they got him to flip, which is huge because, we've all seen the last few years the Rebs have had trouble stopping the run. There's no secret about it. And, getting a guy like that, like I said, 6'5", 312 pounds, sitting right in the middle of the line, if he gets a chance to play right away, that seems like a huge piece.
Well, and not only stopping the run is getting pressure on the quarterback. That was something I think we expected a lot of this year and just didn't really see. And I think, if you've got a big old guy in the middle of the field, you're going to need to block him, and that may open stuff up on the edge to get to the quarterback because, we could stop the run, but, man, we couldn't get to the quarterback either.
And something that the Ole Miss D-line's kind of struggled with is being undersized. This gives us an immediate SEC caliber looking player.
He is not undersized.
Absolutely. That can take hits and possibly stay away from injury because we've also had issues with the D-line getting hurt just because some of these smaller guys just are getting pushed around.
Yeah. We saw last year. I mean, I don't even know what the final count was at, but I swear the Rebs were up near 10 season-ending injuries on that defensive side of the ball. I mean, it was, they did what they could, but I mean, guys were just dropping left and right. So, like you said, seeing a guy like that who's got a big body, probably could take more hits than anybody like that. That's good to see. Another big commitment the Rebs got today, Brandon Mack, 6'4", 240 pounds, a big defensive end from Montgomery, Alabama. He's been committed for a while, and he was one of the guys that, like I said a minute ago, was on that official visit a couple weeks ago with that big group and kind of helped Matt Luke and Mike McIntyre, start to pull guys in, and he was one of the guys that I think really helped sway Ladarius Cox. That's what reports had said. He's a big 3-star defensive end, and again, big size, athleticism. That seems like that of the guys that on the defensive side of the ball that the Rebs signed today, they did a good job getting good, big, athletic guys that can play in the SEC. Hopefully, pretty quick,
and especially fit into the scheme with McIntyre running a 3-4. Having Sam Williams and Brandon Mack, they have very similar sizes, and they could come in and be playmakers for us, which are needed.
Badly. So, with that, Rebel fans, it was a good day. A lot of people said that the Rebs came out on top in the SEC, based on today's results, not overall, but based on today's results, because a big problem on signing day the last couple of years for the Rebs has been getting a hat on the table, but always being their second or third favorite team. You always see that Ole Miss hat sitting right there on the table, but they always grab the one next to it. And so it was nice to see a couple of big guys that we really wanted signed today. It feels good because the Rebs have gone through a lot the last few years, and like we said, they missed out on some big guys, back in December, big in-state guys that they really were hoping to get. And so getting getting Jerrion Ely, guys like that today that are high caliber players that are expected to do a lot, that feels good. So,
who do you think, if you had to pick, who do you think is probably the biggest, the top recruit we got? Who would you pick as the...
Out of the day or the entire...
Let's do today.
I'd say Lakia Henry.
I was kind of thinking that too.
Absolutely, because
as big as Ely is, Henry is something we desperately needed.
See, because the thing is there's still that possibility that Jerrion Ely might not ever play, and and especially with the longevity of running backs and how they take a beating, and especially if they're getting a lot of carries, they take a beating, and there's a chance that things could happen. So while he is an incredibly talented player, like we said, the Rebs defense has needed help the last few years. Linebackers especially were in rough shape last year because of injuries. And getting a guy like this, already with a year of college football under his belt, big guy, like we said, top middle linebacker in JUCO. I mean, there's a lot of good guys out there, and he was at the top of the list. So I think that was a huge gift for the Rebs.
For me, I'd probably say Jonathan Mingo, just because with Dennis Jackson and Jaden Jackson already signing for the December signing period. He's more of a bigger receiver, while the other two are in the slot, and they'll complement Elijah Moore as well. So I would really look for him and Miles Battle, and hopefully DeMarcus Gregory bearing that he's able to go with the injuries he's had. for him to make an instant impact.
Yeah, I'd say I was kind of tied between Ely and Henry, but to your point, I mean, Henry is something we really needed, and Ely, as great as an athlete as he is, I mean, we still have Scotty Phillips. We still have Isaiah Woolard, who honestly got better and better as the year went on. And so I think, as great of an athlete as Jerry and Ely is, I think that Henry is definitely the biggest, in my opinion, because it's what we needed the most. And I think, Summerall is going to have a field day with him.
Absolutely.
So, with that, Rebel fans, like we said, according to 24/7 Sports, Ole Miss finished 22nd in the nation. They bumped up a few spots today with a couple of big signatures, and bumped up a couple spots in the SEC rankings. And, we've said this before, 22nd best class in the nation, 9th best in the SEC. I mean, that's brutal.
Well,
but that speaks to the level of talent that you play against every Saturday in the SEC.
Because you got schools like Georgia who, John Reese Plumlee, decided to go to Ole Miss because as a 4-star he would have been preferred walk-on.
Exactly.
That's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
That like a 4-star was going to be a preferred walk-on.
Yep. So, like we said, the Rebs capitalized today. They got the hats on the table, and for once, everybody that we wanted picked the right hat. So it was a huge day. It was a great day to be a Rebel fan. Like we said, not just being an optimistic Rebel fan, I really think among all SEC teams, we had the best day because we had the most guys up for grabs that we ended up snagging all of them. And
some steals.
And exactly. We flipped, like I said, Ladarius Cox from Tennessee, flipped Lakia Henry from Arkansas. So, it feels nice to win those battles. It seems like Matt Luke, Mike McIntyre, Rich Rodriguez, really, they've got it going on because a lot of players credited their commitments and their signatures to those new coordinators, to the schemes that they, seem to be implementing this next year. And so, it was a great day. It was great to see it. Yeah. I'm excited. Mm-hmm. Time to hit the trail for 2020. So, from here at the Rebel Walk, Jake Evans, Hayes Dubberly, Land Teller, signing off.